For the first time since being appointed to the Victoria ISD board.
A Texas congressman ends a thirst and hunger strike in D.C. in a push for better heat protection for workers.
The DOJ asked a federal judge to order Texas to remove the Rio Grande border barrier within 10 days.
And good evening, everyone. We had one nice thunder shower this afternoon, but look at the temperatures all the way up to 99 as far north as the Canadian border. Yes, it's going to be hot, but for us, we're also going to introduce some dust into the air. We'll talk about that coming up in a moment.
The Industrial Little League softball team had to win a doubleheader today to keep their hopes alive of making it to the Little League World Series. Did they do it? We find out in sports.
You're watching 25 News now at 10. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Karina Garcia. New at 10 at around 6 o'clock Wednesday night, two men got into a fight at a Victoria Transit stop at 1302 North Lewis Street. One of the men was stabbed in the upper body. The suspect ran off to north on Lewis Street. The victim was conscious when he was transported to the hospital.
Andrew Rokovich, who was an applicant for the Victoria ISD Board District 2 trustee position, told us, quote, "I appreciate the board's time and consideration. I don't believe they've made a decision for Victoria that will stand any test of time." Emmett Alvarez, also an applicant for the District 2 trustee position, told us, quote, "I could imagine she meaning Bridget Marshall, could have a conflict of interest on voting on tax rates. I'm not familiar with a situation like this." The Victoria ISD Board of Trustees, in a majority decision Tuesday night, appointed Bridget Marshall as the new District 2 trustee. Marshall is the chair of the Humanities Department and an associate professor of English at Victoria College. We asked Marshall that since she works at VC, if there would be a conflict of interest for her voting on certain issues as a Victoria ISD board member.
Should it present itself, I would recuse myself from that voting. I don't intend to operate with any ulterior motives. I don't have anything to gain. You know, people, it's important to remember that everybody on that board is serving free of charge. It's not a paid position. We're not gaining anything. We're all trying to serve the community.
Marshall's appointment comes following the resignation of Dr. Estela de los Santos.
Here's your viewer poll tonight. Scan that QR code on your screen to vote now. The question is, are you satisfied with the Victoria ISD board appointment for District 2, yes or no? Well, according to these results tonight, 57% say yes and 43% say no.
That's a 20% swing,
Flip.
a flip from 6 o'clock, by the way.
Impressive. Thank you for voting tonight.
Parks and Rec Director Jason Alfaro has resigned. A City of Victoria spokesperson says Alfaro is moving on to pursue his passion as an arborist. He joined the city in May of 2020. Stray cats are becoming a problem near the 300 block of West Courthouse Street in Cuero. A concerned citizen said that animal control is not dealing with the cat overpopulation issues. This stems from vacant homes, only 2 animal control officers, and adult cats having too many kittens. There have been counts of over 50 cats in just a small area on West Courthouse. Residents can call 361-277-3552 to borrow an animal trap. They only have about 7, so there may be a waiting list.
I've been dealing with this over a year. There's been no response on cats. And so the cat problem just getting bigger, getting worse. And I've heard it's like that all over town. So, but it is bad in my neighborhood.
Henry says Cuero Animal Control charges to pick up the cats, but his main goal is to find homes for all of those stray cats and kittens.
The City of Victoria is now under Stage 3 water restrictions. The Guadalupe River is unusually low right now, which limits the city's ability to pump water. Under Stage 3, residents with addresses ending in an even number can water their yards between 6 and 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. to midnight on Sundays and Thursdays. Addresses ending in an odd number can water on Saturdays and Wednesdays. Stage 3 restrictions are designed to reduce Victoria's total water usage by 10%.
And let's take a first look at your forecast with First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Okay, we've got the water restrictions now in Victoria, and in just a moment, Mac will talk about burn bans, plural. So once again, we need some more rain.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't see any in the long term. We're going to dry up for the weekend. Right now we're at 84 degrees. It managed to get up to 99 this afternoon. Now we did have one nice shower and over the afternoon hours we got 0.12 of an inch of rain at the airport. That's not going to cut it. With the river down and with everything so hot, we're using a lot of water. But I got some tricks for you you might want to consider on ways of saving water. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. Calhoun County now under a burn ban. The Calhoun County Commissioner's Court approved the order during a meeting Wednesday. No outdoor burnings are permitted without authorization until further notice. DeWitt County now under a 90-day burn ban, which expires on October 22nd. The DeWitt County Commissioner's Court approved the order during a meeting Tuesday. Violations of the ban can result in fines of up to $500. Burning will be allowed in screen-covered containers.
Jackson County now under a 90-day burn ban. The Jackson County Commissioner's Court approved the order during a meeting Tuesday. Violations of the ban can result in fines of up to $500. This order does not prohibit all outdoor burning.
The U.S. Justice Department asked a federal judge Wednesday to order Texas to remove the Rio Grande border barrier within 10 days. The Texas Tribune reports the DOJ is arguing that Governor Greg Abbott's floating barrier is a safety hazard that violates international treaties and harms relations with Mexico. The department is also seeking an injunction blocking Texas from placing future river barriers without prior approval from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers.
A Texas congressman led a thirst and hunger strike aimed at getting better heat protections for workers.
Congressman Greg Caesar believes a federal heat rule would best protect workers during these record-breaking temperatures.
Austin's sanitation workers can easily get overheated, emptying cart after cart in triple-digit heat. They can dump trash 800 or even 1,000 times on a typical route. It's why Austin Resource Recovery doubles the number of mandatory breaks during the hottest months and provides workers with water-activated cooling clothes.
This is a cool vest that we provide our guys. And this right here, what you'll do is just simply dip it in water, cold water, and it cools the body off.
But not all Texas workers have mandatory water and rest breaks on the job, and the number is expected to drop even further on September 1st. That's when a new state law takes effect that eliminates a wide range of local regulations, including an Austin ordinance that mandates water breaks for construction workers.
Feel the solidarity.
To protest the change, Congressman Greg Caesar is holding the thirst strike for workers' rights on the steps of the U.S. Capitol.
I'm on thirst strike all day today, meaning no food, no water, and no breaks off the Capitol steps in the sun and in the rain to push back against Governor Abbott taking water breaks away from Texas workers in this historic heat wave.
The Austin area congressman wants OSHA to establish federally mandated heat protections for workers.
We call on and push the Biden administration to solve this once and for all and put in a federal heat standards.
Caesar was joined in Washington, D.C. by union leaders from Texas and across the country.
Construction workers and farm workers make up a big part of the LUPA membership. We won't stand for policies that put lives in peril.
National Weather Service data shows that heat kills more Americans than any other form of severe weather, including flooding, hurricanes, or extreme cold. Congressman Caesar says that's even more troubling since there's a growing likelihood that 2023 could be the hottest year on record. Betty Cross, CBS Austin News.
Going back to the border, Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas faced criticism Wednesday from House Republicans who have talked about impeaching him over what they say is a poor job in securing the southern border. Mayorkas defended his department for the selfless work they have done while facing challenges both at the southern border and across the country. The secretary said illegal border crossings have been falling since the peak that came before Title 42, which ended back in May.
In Alabama, defense attorneys now speculating on what's next for the missing woman who says she was not kidnapped in a statement through her attorney.
At this point, obviously, she's facing potential criminal charges and Miranda would say to avoid that, obviously. But she could be facing some civil liability.
Attorney Emery Anthony and Hoover Police Chief Nick Durzis met at City Hall today to discuss what's next for 25-year-old Carlee Russell now that she has admitted her kidnapping story was made up.
Try to identify some things about where we go from here, responsibilities that we need to take care of.
Some local criminal defense attorneys believe those responsibilities could be centered around addressing charges that could be filed. Attorney Edward Merrill says Carlee's initial interview with police could be the first crime addressed.
Depending on what she told law enforcement and which agency she told it to, she could be looking at obstruction of justice. She could be looking at filing false police reports, things of that nature, all of which in Alabama are misdemeanor, Class A misdemeanors.
That charge can come with a fine of up to $6,000 or a jail sentence of up to 1 year. Merrill says a civil charge could also follow.
She could be found liable civilly. Based on the amount of resources that were exhausted in this, the feds could come in and ask for a bill. City could ask for a bill. The county, whoever participated in it, could ask that she have to pay back the resources and time.
The district attorney will decide if those charges are filed. In the meantime, Merrill suspects Russell's attorney will still begin to prepare for court proceedings.
Try to point out to the prosecutors what her mental condition was at the time and show that most likely she just wasn't thinking, trying to avoid the long-term effects like a jail sentence. She may be looking at pleading to something in order to avoid a jail sentence.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Port Lavaca Wave. A local artist in Port Lavaca talks about the making of the mural for the Lighthouse Beach bathrooms. The Calhoun County ISD is sponsoring Teachers of Tomorrow, a program to allow individuals with a degree to earn their teaching certification. Plus, one man has turned his front yard into a home for his wooden figures collection in Port Lavaca. You can read these stories and more at theportlavacawave.com. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you're on YouTube, you can get us at Crossroads Today. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. The Ohio officer who released his police dog onto a black man with hands raised was fired today.
Also ahead, a Florida woman is missing after a yacht caught fire just after midnight in the Key West.
Twelve people hurt after a crane collapse in New York City this morning. 9 civilians and 3 firefighters taken to hospitals in non-life-threatening condition. Authorities say a crane on a high-rise building caught fire and partially collapsed. It was carrying a 16-ton load of concrete that crashed to the ground. Nearby buildings were briefly evacuated, but no structural damage was found to any of the surrounding structures.
The Ohio police officer who released his canine officer on an unarmed black man was fired today. Speaksman's dog charged Jadarius Rose after he surrendered to authorities with his hands raised. He was pulled over after a 30-minute pursuit for driving without a left rear mud flap on his truck and failing to stop for an inspection. He was taken to a nearby hospital and was charged with failure to comply. In their announcement, the police department said Speaksman's actions did not meet the standards for police officers. Authorities in the Florida Keys are searching for a St. Petersburg woman after a yacht caught fire. The 51-year-old woman's husband and the son were airlifted to a hospital in Miami. The 4 other family members on that boat escaped uninjured. Approximately 70-foot yacht was fully engulfed when Monroe County fire rescue crews arrived, and this is now under investigation. Physical activity is good for your heart, and it's also good for your brain, and it helps your mental health.
And new research shows it can also reduce the risk of being diagnosed with Parkinson's disease.
A stroll through the park, working on chores around the house, and participating in a spin class are different types of physical activities with different levels of intensity. But they all reduce the amount of time sitting on a couch. More of that type of movement during the week could reduce the risk of Parkinson's disease, according to a new study. The study, published in the Journal of Neurology, followed more than 90,000 women for nearly 30 years. Participants who developed Parkinson's disease had low physical activity in the 10 years before they were diagnosed. Researchers note how important it is to take the opportunity to do small things like driving less and walking more. Also limit the amount of time you sit at a desk or on the couch. So whether you're in a grocery store parking lot, spending time in nature, or puttering around your garden, stay as active as possible. It could keep Parkinson's disease at bay. Lastly, talk to your doctor if you're experiencing any issues that make physical activity difficult. With this Medical Minute, I'm Justin Finch, ABC News.
U.S. prosecutors asked a federal judge today to detain Sam Bankman-Fried ahead of his trial in October. They're accusing him of witness tampering. They claim he leaked Caroline Ellison's personal writings to the New York Times in order to discredit her. She's a witness in the case. Attorney Mark Cohen says the defense team was not given enough time to respond to the detention request. He also says Bankman-Fried did not violate the terms of his bail. Researchers say the warming of the planet has the potential to collapse the world's crucial system of ocean currents. The currents transport warm water from the tropics toward the North Atlantic, where the water cools, becomes saltier, and sinks deep into the ocean before spreading south. They help regulate weather patterns. But if the currents break down, there may be more extreme winters and rising sea levels. Some predict it could happen as early as 2025, but others say the collapse is still decades away.
Here's some of the top headlines you can read in the Quail Record. DeWitt County Commissioners implement a burn ban, and the Quail Development Corporation welcomes Constance Donald as a new board member. Plus, the Guadalupe Valley Electric Corporation honors Quail resident Linda Anzaldúa. You can read these stories and more at DeWittCountyToday.com.
And good evening, everyone. It's 84 degrees at lovely temperature this time of the night. We managed to get up to 99 today, at closer, or not that close, to our average high of 96. But we did get 0.12 of an inch of rain. That's good. Around the region, we had 102 in Gonzales, and this is the one amazing, 99 even in Port Lavaca, 101 in Kennedy. Yeah, the hot temperatures are with us, but the rain opportunity is going to be going away. We're replacing it with dust. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Well, good evening, everyone. I wanted to show you this nice photograph. This was the thunderstorm that rolled over Cuero this afternoon. It really kicked up. You can see how it's nice and blue in the sky and nice and white on the clouds. And it rolled through with thunder, lightning, and then it just disappeared. It was real quick. But that's Navarro right about there. So here's another view of that. Here's the city. There's a storm. And then it really got going there for a little bit, and then it just started, it's all gone. So it's all blown away. In fact, it's going to be very hard for anything to roll through here in terms of rain over the next couple of days because of the dust rolling in. And Don, did we do the story on the stage 3?
Yes.
Ah, yes.
But
Sorry.
you covered it more there.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just going to amplify on what Don told you about. If you're real curious and want to know all the details, because this is a summary, you got to go to City of Victoria, Municipal Codes, section 13 through 77, okay? But bottom line is that we need to reduce water usage by 10%. It's easy to do. I've been in places where we had to do this, and we did it. First of all, sprinklers can be used only on designated watering days, all right, number 1. 2, decorative fountains, you need to turn them off and not have any water in them. If they're decorative. Now, if you got fish in them, obviously you want to take care of the fish. Any leak that you see around the house, around the pool, in the yard, whatever, should be fixed because this is not a good time to be wasting water. No restaurant water service, and that's what that's the way I read it, that they're not going to bring you water unless you ask for it. Because think about it, you got to drink the water, you got to wash the glass, you got to bring it back. It's 3 glasses of water that some people don't even touch. And therefore, as I understand, the golf courses have to be using non-city water, private water, well water, I don't know, something like that, but it's got to be non-city water. So, okay, and I'm going to say this because it's late night. I learned this from a distinguished individual who said the following: in order to save water, if it's yellow, let it mellow. You get me? I'm not going to go any further than that. Here's one of the reasons. This is the Guadalupe River. Look at this, down to 4 feet. It's going to be 4 feet. It's going to be 4 feet with no additional rain. May drop another foot, and if it does, we're not going to have anything to pump. So we're going to be having to all be cautious and not waste any water this time of year. Well, I've been talking about the dust. It is here. There you see it right about there. All this dust is coming in from the Sahara, and it's going to suppress our rain chances over the next couple of days. Of course, we're still on the hot side. We're not exactly getting out of that, but I just wanted to show you. Remember I said a couple of weeks ago when the heat wave hits Chicago? Well, that's the heat wave hitting Chicago. It is way north, all the way to the Canadian border. Now, we do have one area that may possibly have a storm brewing. It's way down here in the Atlantic. It's got a 40 to 50% chance of developing something. It's a long way from us, about 7 days away, but I just wanted you to know that there is something there. Now, the big dome of high pressure, well, it's moving to Chicago. It's going to be there, and it's really going to give them some bad stuff. For those of you in Fort Lavaca, getting up to 95 tomorrow with a couple isolated showers. In Cuero, you're getting up to 97, mostly sunny, but a few clouds. And for the rest of us, we're looking at temperatures really getting on the warm side, but the rain chances decreasing and getting rather sunny and hot through the weekend with probably no real rain chance until middle of next week. That's your 7-day forecast. Want to remind everybody we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that and put Crossroads Today on your phone. Here's Mr. Gino with soccer, right?
Thanks, Matt. Yes, sir. The USA women's national team finished its second game of the World Cup. Did they come out with a victory? We find out after the break. At a crossroads, is the Little League team out of Industrial going to the championship game? Let's find out. Texas East fell behind early to Louisiana via a pass ball, but the team from Texas answered right back with a little help of their own. On a drop strike three, the runner heads to first but is thrown out, but aggressive base running leads to an errant throw to tie the game in the bottom of the second. In the third, Louisiana has a runner in scoring position. A hard hit ball to first brings home one. Now Texas East down again. The deciding factor in the game would come in the fourth inning when Leighton Hunt smashes one over the center fielder to tie the game, but she's not satisfied. She rounds first, she rounds second, she's heading for third, and she is in, beats the tag. Now we got bases loaded, and she would blast one Reagan Little past the shortstop, bringing in 2 runs to take the lead for the first time of the day. Texas East would go on to win 6-2 and will play Texas West tomorrow at 10 in the morning. The Industrial team needs to win 2 in a row to make it to the World Series. The USA women's soccer team found itself in a position that it has not been in quite a while. And only 16 minutes into the game, the Dutch found themselves inside the box. A pass deflected, picked up on the edge, and it's blasted in the back of the net. USA is down 1-0. The USA have not trailed in a World Cup game in 17 games, but that was short-lived. The Americans would answer back with a header of their own in the 63rd minute. The score would be 1-1 to end the game. USA will now play Portugal Tuesday on August 1st at 2 p.m. The Victoria Generals again hosting the Bombers tonight. The Generals got on board first with a Xavier Perez solo shot to make it 1-0 in the first inning. Then he would do it again in the fourth. 2 solo home runs for Mr. Perez, and the Generals would explode in the 8th to close out the game 7-0. The Generals will play the Acadiana Cane Cutters tomorrow at 7:05. The Dallas Cowboys Daily is back, and here's Mickey Spagnola with the first day of training camp.
Even before the Dallas Cowboys had their first practice of training camp on Wednesday here in Oxnard, California, they got cornerback Trayvon Diggs signed to a 5-year extension worth $97 million. They got a lot of guys to get signed, and he's the first one. Now, for our interactive question of the day, it comes from Jason Roberts. Please help us calm down on the Zach Martin situation, that he will be in the lineup when it starts to count. And Zach, absolutely he'll be in the lineup before the season starts. Remember, this first week of practice is basically mini camp practices, so he's really not missing much. And at some point, the two sides will come together on an agreeable contract for the season. And remember, don't forget to tweet your questions to @Spags52.
Now, speaking of the Victoria West Warriors football camp, their camp started yesterday, and the football season is right around the corner. The Elder Group, grades 7th through the incoming freshmen, worked on route running, pass catching, throwing, run blocking, play terminology, and much more. The camp will continue through tomorrow evening. Well, that's your sports. Don and Karina, back to you.
Thanks, Gina. Stay with us. Coming up on 25 News now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather with Mac. Plus, the Texas Zoo is keeping their animals cool in creative ways.
Two surviving Tuskegee Airmen honored today during a ceremony at Joint Base Andrews. The two veterans recognized as part of an event marking the legacy of the PT-17, a biplane the airmen used for training. The plane will be on display at the National Museum of the United States Air Force in Ohio. Today's event also marked the 75th anniversary of the executive order which ended segregation of the U.S. Armed Forces.
The Texas Zoo is working on creative ways to keep its animals cool. Zoo workers make sure all the animals are cool by supplying fish, chicken, and other tasty treats inside large chunks of ice. Animals like jaguars, otters, ring-tailed lemurs, and many others get a meal that keeps their body temperatures at a safe level. And many of the larger animals have access to shelter with air conditioning so they can all sleep well.
So they're not eating very well. I mean, they're just like us. We need to stay cool, so our animals need to stay cool.
Fast metabolism, so I'm really lucky.
Alrighty, well, have you guys been to the zoo lately? Because I haven't, and it seems like it's time for me to go.
Let's go. You know, we can go see the river otters there, and they're so cute, and they know how to do it because they stay in the water all day long.
They have the right idea going right now.
And it is so important for those workers there at the Texas Zoo to keep those animals as cool as they can, because these days, well,
yeah. I'm surprised they didn't give them an iced coffee or something like that.
That's for me.
No, that's for you. It's for the workers at the zoo. We'll take them then the iced coffee. Anyway, folks, in addition to the heat that we are still under, we're going to lose the rain opportunity, and we're going to start picking up some dusty skies, part of that Saharan thing rolling over us, and that'll shut down the rain chance for a few days. Middle of next week, we'll keep our fingers crossed, and that we get some more tropical moisture in here by Wednesday of next week. That's your 7-day forecast.
All right, while Matt gets his llama latte, a California man climbed Yosemite's 8,800-foot tall half dome. Everett Kalin reached the summit last week with the support of his son and the cheers of other hikers. Kalin says he skydived at 91, so yeah, he was looking for a new challenge. His training included climbing the 16 floors of his apartment building.
What?
And slowly but surely, we got closer to the top. And, finally I saw where the cable was locked into the rock, solid as possible. And I thought, my gosh, we're here. And that was just super.
It took the Kalins 13 hours to reach the top. The retired theology professor says he's open to suggestions for his next adventure. In the 90s, that's his age. It could be in the temperatures too. I mean, I'd be game for any kind of adventure or something like that.
That is amazing.
That's incredible.
Really, I mean, because the Half Dome, it's huge. It's a gigantic rock sticking out of the ground, and he climbed it.
Yeah. Way to go.
I can't even get to the refrigerator nowadays.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for joining us for 25 News Now at 10.
Join us for 25 News Now Sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night, everybody.